I started racing back in, when I was like 18. Speedway 95 up in Herman, Maine. We grew up going to that track. Did that for 1 year and ended up rolling the car over, kind of balling it up, and that was the end of that. Fast forward to 2005. I still had that itch. Went out and bought a sport truck over to Seekonk. Ran that for a full season. And at the end of that season, I actually got an opportunity to drive a Pro 4. And I was always fenders. It's all about fenders. So for me to try one of those was kind of a big deal for me. And I ended up trying that out at Seekonk. I think I was like 6 or 7 laps down because it was scaring the shit out of me. It was a lot faster than the truck. Got out of the car and said, I'm selling the truck. Went out and bought a Pro 4. Won a couple of championships in the limited division with the Pro 4s. Did that all the way up to 2012. Ended up selling that and then still wanted to drive, still had that itch. And at the same time, always loved the SKs. Used to watch this crazy guy. His name was Woody. And, always kind of never met him or anything and just said, wow, I've always wanted to do that. So ended up going to Norm Perry and said, hey, do you ever want to maybe lease a car out for a season, so I can see if I like it or not? Worked out great. I think we finished 11th in the points that year. I was happy. That was one of those where if you finished in the top 10, for us, it was like a win. I had a brand new car built. Also decided that there was this new series coming out. They were calling it the Tri-Track Series. And I'm like, all right, let's do that. When the very first race came up, and I was really excited. I'm like, this is gonna be great. I get there and I'm looking around and it's a damn race of champions. And me. And so I'm like, I'm not even gonna qualify for this thing. You gotta buy tires ahead of time, all these different. So I'm like, I'm gonna embarrass myself. So I said, well, the only driver that I know that's not here is Woody Pitkat. I'll send him a Facebook message. Hey, Woody, I know you don't know me, but I'm here at Lee. If you want to drive my car, grab your stuff and come up here. I'll put you in my car.
He basically says, if you can get up here, he goes, I had practice and I'm not very fast, but I got a brand new car, this and that. If you want to come up, check it out. The seat's yours. So I'm like, all right. I grabbed my buddy Mike.
Oh, him and Mike Royce, they probably did 90 to 100 getting up there.
And he was texting me like, get your fire suit on. So I'm in the back seat. Mike's driving. I'm putting my fire suit on.
He gets there, goes out, never been in a car before, qualifies 6th fastest right in the get-go. Okay, this is going to be cool. We're going to make the race.
And the way the race went out and the strategy went out, I want to say we were running 4th or 6th with like 9 to go. And, got run over on the restart and got, booted out of the way and had to come in and get a flat and change the flat or whatever. But right there, I could tell, he's got pretty good equipment.
I said, hey, you know what? We had fun. We had a blast. I'm not going to run the tri-track with me driving. It's very clear. So if you want to drive for me, let's do it.
As long as we get everything together, we could be a pretty good, force to be reckoned with. So we had run, some tri-track races. Then he kind of wanted to shift. We ended up going to Thompson.
That's when my period as a car owner began. Ended up winning the NASCAR Track Championship there that first year.
It was really cool to be able to win the championship. And then the following year, I don't even really remember, we were in 2 or 3 years there. I don't know, we just felt like it was time for a change. We talked about doing the tri-track again, and that's where we are now.
I had not been back to Stafford as a car owner since my Pro 4 days. And so it was a while since Woody had had some big wins there and everything, and he had a drought that they were kind of talking about. So it was a special thing for us to go back to Stafford with that car. It was the first time that Princess had been there. That's the name of the car.
This was the first race for Stan's car at Stafford. With the big engine, Steve Greer, Gunsmoke Stables, lent us a motor.
If we still had the SK motor, we weren't going to run any of the Stafford because it's underpowered.
And Steve reached out to me and said, hey, just so you know, I got my engine down here. If you can run some races at Stafford with it, that would be something he'd want us to do because he knew that the motor would be really good there.
Okay, we've got a piece here that we can go there and be competitive.
So Twisted Tea race was the one that we had on the calendar, and
we were viewing it more as a practice for the tri-track race that we knew that was going to be coming up.
But we unloaded and we were really good. It was just one of those nights where all the stars aligned, and it was really good for Stan. He's a little guy, low buck guy. Like I said, he does a lot on his own. That was definitely a cool race to win. Knowing the fact that it was Twisted Tea 80, so everybody, it comes into mind. Woody Pitkat, Twisted Teas, like that's one of his big things, is that's what he likes. So the guy that, was the sponsor there, Nick D'Angelo, he's the one from the Boston Beer Works. We hit it off pretty good. I'm friends with him on Facebook, so I had been reaching out to him to see, hey, can we do any advertisement? And pretty much, beat him to death to try to do something. And the opportunity came where we could get him on board. I was very happy to have them on the race car. Never thinking you'd go out and win the race, When you win the Twisted Tea 80, the fine people from Boston Beer Works, Nicholas D'Angelo, was kind enough to give us a load of Twisted Teas to drink. And I just figured I'd pretty up the place with that while we were doing that. I know that race is probably, for him, is the biggest win.
It was a really special moment, one that I'm never going to forget.
Fortunate enough to have a lot of seat time there, raced there a lot of years.
The secret sauce is certainly Woody with all of his wins there.
As of right now, I have 78 wins there. Second on the all-time wins list, which is really crazy. It's kind of humbling, I guess. You don't really think about it until somebody says it or you look at it. It's definitely a really, really cool accomplishment.
Certainly looking forward to getting back there and seeing if we can repeat for the tri-track race. This is a small team. There's no big money behind this team. I couldn't do it without the sponsors that we've got. Our primary sponsor has been Access Engineering. They're out of Shrewsbury, Mass. Pomfret Wine and Spirits, Black and White Grill out of Spencer, Mass. Doug Dunlevy with Dunlevy Truck and Trailer. Certainly Napa of Tolland. Steve Greer from Gunsmoke Stables. They jumped on board and actually sponsored us with their new motor. J&S Motors here in Whitensville. Stacy and Sean over at Towboat US. Cape Towing and Salvage over in Cape Cod.
How's it going, Woody?
Good.
Good.
How you doing?
Good. So you got to gotta wrench and drive at the same time.
Oh yeah.
You're not just a hired gun.
No, not with this operation.
No. That's it.
Which it's all right. I don't mind it. This year really, I think, was the big stepping stone on the crew.
The team as it stands now and going into next year, I've got Mark Giordano as my crew chief. He and Woody, they handle the setup. If you ask me what the springs were or anything like that, I don't know. Woody does all the settings and everything. That way, he handles all the settings, he handles everything, so he can't complain.
That says the right front. I came off the right rear, and the right rear is on the right front. We have Brad Martell, who's another guy. He's more of a whatever you need. He's very good with the electrical.
Mike Holmes came on this year as our tire guy.
And I said, hey, would you mind, jumping on board with Stan and doing a couple races? So he came first, race, did the tires, and Stan said, you're my tire guy.
And he's been a great help. He comes in, does the tires. I don't question it. I've got 100% confidence in what he does.
Jeff LaFramboise, he, when we get to the track, runs off with Mike and takes care of the tires, mounting the tires and measuring and all that. So that's kind of his job. Richard Mason, Fatback we call him. We just had him really jump on board for the Open 80 race and the tri-track race that was at Stafford. And then we have our spotter, Tim Sullivan, had an opportunity to race Dan Avery's car, and Timmy was their spotter. And I thought he did a really good job. When we were going there with Stan's car, I said, yeah, we need this guy.
My role has been defined by the guys in the crew. It's one of the few things that they let me do on the car. Fuel it, window net up. Put the window net up, hey.
We try to kind of just not give him so much of a role at the track, just kind of let him be kind of a car owner and sit back and relax and watch his car race. And we still get him, you know, we make him go buy fuel or go buy, you know, parts at the trailer if we need something at the track. But his role is pretty much whatever we need him to be.
They're like, you do the fuel and you pay for it. That's what your job is. You know, we do everything else. When we first arrived, you know, we had the car that was set up really well. We felt that we had the right setup. The first practice we use is a hopefully nothing falls off the car practice. And then we'll come in and probably put stickers on it.
You could buy 10 tires at the track. So if you think about it right away, you're thinking, all right, so you have 4 for practice, whenever you want to use them, 4 stickers for the heat race, and then you go through the heat, and then those are going to be your tires for the feature. Well, if you don't qualify through the heat race, now you're going to go into a consi. I just don't want to kill those other tires because you don't know what's going to happen. And for some reason, we draw a shitty number. I don't know how our day's going to go. I don't know how we're going to have tires for a consi. I don't know.
You can always tell with Woody how the day is going to go. If he's kind of uptight and pissing and moaning about stuff, then you know it's going to be a long day.
So these were just situations that I was bringing up because I'm always worried about everything. Like I can be worried if I found a nut underneath the car that was, you know, in the pits that might have been there from previous weeks from somebody else's car. I'll be like, where did that come from? You don't want to use those tires that you put 8 laps or 10 laps on in the heat, because if you do qualify for the main event, you're going to want, you know, good tires. So now you just ran 15 to 20 laps plus your practice. You really have to sticker it for the consi. At that point, you're kind of started being negative about the whole situation, where you need to be positive and just be like, you know, Mike's girlfriend at the time, Michaela, she's like, why do you even worry about that? You're going to get through the heat race. None of that's going to even happen.
Let's see how these tires are. See how the car is.
I'm just saying those new
just covered it.
new practice tires, if we can, I only want to put like 6 laps on.
Yeah, that's fine. During practice, Woody was saying that we ended up having a little bit of an issue.
Practice did not go as we were hoping.
The car just didn't feel, the motor didn't feel right. It was kind of skipping a little bit.
We had been chasing some sort of a electrical issue or something going on with the motor, just not running up to snuff or not feeling it as it did when we were here not too long ago for the Twisted Tea race.
And so we spent pretty much all the rounds of practice chasing that down.
We're kind of stumbling around trying to figure that out. We had changed mufflers because we showed up with different mufflers for the Twisted Tea race, which didn't really seem like it helped.
We changed even the distributor and cap and all those different things.
Curtis come over from Billy the Kid. He had run through the valves and run through the carburetor, check everything over. We put some new plugs in it, put new power valves in it.
We really didn't know whether or not we had solved everything.
You know, we're just hoping that we've straightened that thing out, just getting ready for the heat race, and hopefully it'll be all straightened out so we can get through the heat.
Well, with the tri-track, the biggest worry, it's all about luck of draw.
It's all about the draw for that race. You know, they draw for the heat races. So if we get a bad draw and start in the back of the heat, it's going to be hard to get in the show.
If you don't get a good starting position in the heat race, most likely you're going to end up having to go to the consi. You know, you're ended up using up your equipment. Even if you do make the race, you're probably not going to be that great because you're putting less on your tires. And they're going to take the top 4, so we just have to move up at least 1 position to be able to qualify for the race.
Started 6th. Was able to roll the outside early. Had a quick caution. Restart on the bottom. Was able to pass Ronnie Silk for second. Jace was kind of, in a different zip code there, so we kind of let him walk and just wanted to finish second.
So I was really happy of how we ended up. I mean, the car was great. Woody said that it's still skipping, so we've got some things that we've got to look at there.
We got it in, but we still have problems. The thing's spitting and sputting and bucking still, so we gotta figure that out.
The last 3 or 4 laps of that heat race, the motor started to skip again, like we were chasing in the practice. Going like when it got hot. Like when it started getting right at the end, straight coming off. The whole time, even there at the end, like when it came off the floor, that was big time.
We knew that we had time because we qualified for the race. So while everybody else was rushing around to try to still qualify in the contests and everything, we got to still go through the car to find out where this skip was coming from.
Either a wire was arcing or one of the switches are going bad. Like I said, that switch, the switch that started the engine.
I'm happy that we got second, but we still got that motor issues. It's still breaking up a little bit, so
It might be electrical, looks like.
that's what we're thinking. It was a bad ignition switch. And it was causing the car to stop and start.
Brad's working on that right now, and he's thinking that's definitely the situation. And we have noticed that our right rear tire is going flat, and the guys wanted a new tire. They said we should be able to put a new tire on the car. And I'm telling them our practice tire only has 4 laps on it, 1 heat cycle. So really, our practice tire that we're going to put on here is better than if we didn't have to put a tire on at all. So
Why don't we just... The practice tires only have 6 laps on it. I know.
It's even better than
All right. I'm going to make the decision. Don't get practice tires.
Wait, shut up, we're on it.
So that was something that we had just talked about here prior to the feature, but we're good to go.
The good news is we're in the redraw, so we still have a chance to get the pole. The different thing with Tri-Track is the fact that when you qualify in the heat, they have what's called a redraw.
With the 5 heats, they were redrawing 2 out of each heat.
They're taking the top 2 for the redraw.
You knew no matter what, the worst position you'd be starting would be 10th.
So there's 10. They take all those, put them into a hat, and then they have, they call it pills that they draw. So they draw a number, and that's where you start.
They redrew for us due to the COVID situations. So we drew 5th, which is, good. I'm happy with that. Top 5 at my home track, be on the bottom for the start. That's always a plus. It's going to be a hell of a show with the amount of people that are going to be going to that one. All the top names are there. You got champions that have won on the tour. You got the weekly competitors that run at Stafford. Looking forward to getting ready to go. Doing our final adjustments, talking to the guys about the tire sagger and getting the pit box and everything situated to go in the infield and get ready to go for the feature.
Gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the Stafford Speedway for an incredible historic event here at the half-mile facility for the Tri-Track program.
Alright, we got a rocket ship. Take it back in. Let's win this thing. Let's make it 2 in a row. Alright, thanks, man.
We got going, just kind of trying to settle in, get some spots while you could.
Get outside, Tom's going ahead. 57 outside. There you go. Go outside, 1 car right on you.
It took a little while to get going, and we're jammed up on the bottom. It didn't go as we were hoping. Got third. Ryan was kind of, to me, it looked like he was a little bit loose, like kind of hanging on, still early. So started venturing on the outside.
Hard after, make sure he knows you're out there now. Good. Clear. Clear on the entry now.
He gave me the room, was able to get by him.
Woody was happy with it. Where we would ask him about any adjustments. We knew that we were going to have a pit stop coming up.
Out, hand up, got a car stop in the front strip. A little bit tight into the center. I think it might be a little free off on the bottom if I run the normal groove, so I'm just going in on the bottom, getting in the stuff on exit, and it's got big drive. So just kind of cruising right now.
He said the car's just on rails.
As the run started progressing, the car started freeing up, which wasn't what happened, at the Twisted Tea race.
Right on your bumper here.
Ryan might have been getting a little bit better, so I was trying to hold him off for a little while.
Car low, door, left rear, roll the top here, still down there. Still at your left rear, roll the top, hard off here. One car back to the 50 behind us, clear, get down, okay to get down. Out, hand up here, got a car stop right in the middle. Be careful, make sure it's come back down.
For the adjustments, Woody kind of called those out over the radio, what he wanted.
I don't know if that right rear is taking off or not. I'm kind of thinking about having that right rear tire back up to what you had it at home and sticking a spring rubber in the left rear. I don't know what you guys think, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
So we had come in, we put right side tires on it.
2 right sides and a left rear, 3-tire stop.
And we took the opportunity to swap our left side tires, put the left front on the left rear and the left rear on the left front. But with it getting freer and knowing that we were going to have to go 51 laps to the end, I felt like, okay, we're going to have to tighten this thing up. So I had them drop the stagger on the right rear tire and put a spring rubber in the left rear. Made adjustments and felt very confident that we were going to have a car to be able to go on the long haul for the last 51 laps.
I think the 50 lined up in the road behind us here. Green. Clear up. No caution, car down low here.
Started coming off the 2, and the next thing you know, the 11 car that was underneath me, John Kennedy, got into the side of me. Next thing you know, kind of up on the wall and up on our side.
Next thing I know, my car is climbing the wall. My first concern is, number 1, holy shit, what the hell just happened? Number 2 is, how's Woody going to get out of the car because the driver's side's laying on the asphalt.
I was like, all right, kind of just tried to gather yourself a little bit. But then, as you're looking straight out the window, I see, fuel dumping out of the air cleaner, and I'm like, ooh, this ain't a good situation. And then I hear John underneath me, like yelling and screaming. I know they were asking me on the radio if I was all right, but the first instinct was to just unhook the wire off my helmet. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know if I can get out of the passenger side because I've never practiced that.
I see Woody climbing out the side of the car.
It looks like Woody Pitkat is on the verge of climbing out of the number 6 car.
Normally you can't get through. I don't know how he did it.
And then the first thing I kind of come through my mind is like, all right, my wife's here, my kids are here. I got to let them know I'm all right.
But it was great. He got out, sat down. So that was a big sigh of relief.
Okay, nothing's on fire. You're good with it. Come on. Go that way? Go down that way?
I've never been in that position where my car has been like this way.
Let it down, Jockey. Let it down.
All of a sudden, they've hooked up on both ends. They're doing the double hook and lifting it. And my biggest concern was, don't drop my car. So once they brought the car in for us to kind of see, let's get it on jack stand so that we can at least get it hopefully to roll.
And when we started looking at it, we're like, it doesn't really look like it's as bad as we think it is, which is good. You know, it's obviously it's bad, but it don't look like it's going to need any clips or anything like that. So it could have been a lot worse. A little bit frustrated at the situation where we just came out of the pit stop, just made our adjustments, and didn't even get half a lap before we were wrecked. So we never even really got to see what we were going to have for a car. Really, to try to take your mindset off of it is just to work on the thing and get it prepared to get it into the pits to be able to get into the trailer.
Woody's over there trying to take out Nerf bars.
We were cutting the Nerf bar off on the left side to get the muffler off to make sure we were going to be able to run it without hurting the motor.
Mike and Mark were over there working on what was left of the left front. The rear end was all pushed back and it looked like it was bent kind of all the way back. The wrecker pushed us back to pit road.
You know, I was looking around. There was a situation where it looked like we were going to be able to maybe fire the engine. At the end of the night, I like to fog the motor, spray some fog and spray in there so the cylinder walls don't get any buildup in there, any condensation, so it wouldn't cause any rust.
All right, I was just going to ask you, can you put something together in 2 words? Or in like a word or a sentence, can you just say how the night went? How about you?
Yeah, that's about sums it up. At that point, you just try to make the best of it. Obviously, it wasn't the night that we wanted, and we had, you know, pretty high expectations.
Getting it back on into the trailer was eventful.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but I got to come here tomorrow and paint the wall.
You know, we got it to the point where it seemed like it was rolling pretty good, but because of the fact that the rear end was bent so far back on the right side, it was dog tracking it on the way into the trailer. So as we were pulling it into the trailer, it was keep pulling the rear to the right side of the trailer. So a lot of the guys had to, you know, pick up the back of the car and bounce the car back over.
So we would literally have to bounce it back over straight again, winch it another couple of feet, bounce it back over, winch it forward, and so that's how you get basically a destroyed race car back into the trailer. The 2020 season was not what we expected.
It was definitely just a weird year.
Number one, COVID absolutely screwed everything.
Not knowing when we were going to race, you know, then picking venues on where we were going to be able to go.
But we started out the season where we were struggling to even qualify for the races. The first 2 races that we ran, we had to take provisionals to get in.
Felt like we unloaded at a lot of the tracks and had to chase the sit up a lot. We're changing a lot of stuff throughout the day.
Things were not looking good. We were persevering through it.
After we won that Twisted Tea race, it gave us a lot of confidence, all of us, looking very forward and very excited for 2021.
We're going to run the 6 tri-track races. We're going back to Stafford. They're going to run 4 open shows. We've got a good, solid team. Car is back off the jig, ready for me to bolt everything on that got destroyed at Stafford.
He's, you know, pretty much the main guy at the shop. He's 90-95% preparing the car, getting it ready.
My shop, this is 10 minutes from my house, so I refer to it more as my man cave because I just come over here every night. Short of sitting in the recliner drinking twisted teas, I come over here and work on the race cars.